Well, live. We are live. Welcome in, guys. This is SideQuest Comics in the live end of the month Sunday comic show off show. And I'm excited. I got some new guests, some original guests, some guests that have never been on YouTube. So this is awesome. They're excited to talk comics, show comics off. If you guys don't know, what I do on the Sunday show off is it's kind of a monthly recap, end of the month, and I go over books that I got, new releases in the last month that I haven't featured on any of my videos, or maybe it's quested books that I found. And yeah, we just show them off type of thing. And it's a chance for everybody that comes on, for us to get to know the comic community a little bit more, have some fun, play some games. If you guys haven't seen the last episode, you can check that one out and see what kind of fun we had. But before we jump into it, let's give some people some time to jump on, and I'll handle the business right away. And if you like this stuff, if you have been watching me for a while and like the content, please consider smashing that button, like, subscribe, and comment below of what you thought of all the books that we showed off, me and my guests. And also head over to Instagram. All of us that are on tonight have Instagram accounts, so you can find links in the show notes afterwards. Like some of the posts that we did there. They're usually themed and a lot of fun. And you can also contact me at Gmail at sidequestcomics@gmail if you have questions or suggestions about anything that we cover. But we got that out of the way, guys. That's gone. It's done. So let's get some people on here. We'll start talking comics. And the first person that I'm going to bring in is going to be Richard. Richard is the super fan. As he said backstage, you can find him stalking everybody on Instagram and YouTube. So let's bring in Richard. Richard, welcome to the show.
Yep, thanks for having me. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, definitely. So, yes, Richard's got a pile. We're all excited. Richard, actually, I don't think I've seen you on too many streams. So this is kind of different probably for people because they're used to seeing you in the chat and moderating and stuff.
Yeah, I've been on a few, but jumped in halfway with an invite. But this was the first time that was like pre-planned of me jumping in on being on a show. So it's this is I would consider this maybe my first full appearance.
Ooh,
the other ones
we
were
go.
all
So I got
cameos.
two, baby. Okay. So next up we have Nate. So Nate is at Hall Comics. He's also another content creator that's on Instagram and YouTube, and he's hunting and digging and showing off the cool stuff he finds. And Nate, welcome in live stream.
Thanks for having me here. Richard is killing me. That his other appearances are mere cameos. what a comic book story for such a comic book super fan. Oh, it's good stuff, buddy.
And then the last guest, this is her debut on YouTube. You usually see her on Instagram. She's hosting different events for other people, selling books on Instagram, claim sales and stuff like that. And this is Kate from Kate's Comics. Hey!
Wow, I'm so excited.
So very cool. And I think, Kate, I'm trying to think. I think I know of you from our likewise friend Cheddar, who does Instagram sales. And so, yeah, it's one of those things that we've talked online, just back and forth and comment section, stuff like that. So very cool to have you on here. And we're going to be having fun and showing off books. So, all right. So I'm going to jump right into it, guys. And we're going to go into questions so people can get to know you guys a little bit more. A lot of you guys, I think everybody sees in the comment section or posting. And let's deep dive a little bit into you guys. And Richard, I'm going to start with you. What is your comic origin? And I guess talk about what your favorite character is.
Okay. A little long story, but my comic book origin was I was a terrible reader. I was an absolute terrible reader in grade school. Okay. And it was, one, I was bad at reading, and two, the content that they were giving me in school wasn't very good. And when you're not interested in the content that you're getting from schools, you're going to fall behind. So one day I just woke up and my father bought me a copy of this comic book, not this exact one, but the Infinity Gauntlet, and just the cover blew me away. And it started off with my father reading this comic book to me, and then me to him, and then it just got read so many times that like a favorite movie, you just memorize the lines to it. So after reading this comic book of just memorizing it, my confidence just went through the roof. And from there, it was just more and more comic books to get me interested in reading. And from comic books, it went from just regular books to just being able to read anything. Back of cereal boxes, I didn't care what it was. I just loved reading after that point.
I think that's the cool thing about comics, and they get labeled as just kid fun type of thing. But I think it's an important thing that not only does it, like you said, it gets your interest for kids, it gets their interest, and it motivates them to learn more, find out about these characters that they see visually. But hey, let's see what is the character actually about by reading it. So that's a cool thing about comics, I think.
The pictures as well helps out because it's showing you what's happened. So instead of trying to read something and misinterpreting it, you're just seeing what's happening. So it was just fun. It was just fun to read, and it just helped me out more than people will know. In fact, so much so that I actually met Ron Lim in Sacramento at A1 Comics for the free comic book day, and I told him how much his books meant. Now, I know he didn't jump into this one until issue number 4, but I let him know how important his work was to me personally.
And I think there's a lot of creators that's gratification and justification for their work, right? Is that when they can touch an individual like that I'm sure that means the world to them. And that's very cool. All right, Richard, favorite character? Testing you, or I'm testing myself.
It's unusual because almost all of my comic book collecting is big story events. For DC, it's all the crises, and for Marvel, it's going to be your Maximum Carnage, your Infinity Gauntlets, your Infinity War, Secret Wars. It's big events that I don't usually get into individual characters, but if I did, or the ones that I read and don't really collect, it's going to be Captain America.
Okay. America's favorite son. All right.
And
Nate?
one last thing about it is the great thing about comic books is there is a comic book for everyone. If you're into science, well, then you go into someone like Iron Man or Spider-Man or the Hulk. If you're into fantasy, then get into like Doctor Strange or magic. There's for teenagers, Spider-Man. There's a comic book for everyone out there. So if there's someone that you don't like, just keep on searching, and you're going to find someone that you can relate to.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people say, where do I start? And it's like, well, kind of what are your interests? What are you drawn to? Does this character look interesting? Do you maybe what you know of his story sounds interesting? It's the small guy like Spider-Man. He's the young, small, street level guy that's fighting, the criminals. Or do you like the big Silver Surfer in space and stuff like that? Or like you said, Doctor Strange, if you like the mystical side. So yeah, it's one of those things that don't be afraid to try something out. Those discount bins are perfect for that. Find something, try it. If you like it, well, then you know where to kind of steer and go. So, all right, Nate, origin story.
Before I tell my origin story real quick, I just want to say, Richard, as an educator who works with young emergent readers, I love your origin story, and it just makes me just love you even more, man. I mean, seriously, that was like so cool. The back and forth with your dad, the whole thing. Like I could not agree more that comic books are a great bridge for kids who need to learn how to read.
To follow up, what the school did was they allowed me to make like 10 comic books as like a book report. So instead of you having to read like a book, why don't you follow up with like 10, 15, quantity wise to make up for a book? And they worked with you.
I love that. That makes me happy to hear that, man. My origin story, I actually have two of my like earliest books that I remember owning. One is a Marvel team up with Spider-Man and Dazzler and Paladin. He's in there as well. And when I read this, I had no idea who Dazzler or Paladin were. I still don't really understand who Paladin is. And then the other one,
about 4 minutes to mention Dazzler and be in the stream.
yeah, I get it. I'm not done either, Jack. And then I've got Superman number 335, which is a Mr. Mxyzptlk story, which introduced me to, you know, silly DC magic and stuff. And those are two books that I remember. I don't know where they came from, but they're books that I always had as a little kid. And they were kind of like what Richard said. It just opened up that whole world. You know, Spider-Man became my bridge to the Marvel universe through a lot of the fact that he was in so many books. And then when it came to DC, and I couldn't find it, but I mean, I have a childhood Batman book that's the same. Like that was kind of my trinity was Spider-Man, Superman, and Batman. And I would get things that had those characters in it, which would then lead me to other characters. And then I'd want to go read about who they were as well, which is probably why my collection looks the way it does today. Like I just keep jumping, you know, around to get more information about the things that interest me. And DC is definitely like what I'm into the most. But there's a lot of Marvel that I love as well. And then just a lot of, I think independent. I think I'm a reader first. Like if it interests me, I'm going to read it. I don't care where it came from. And then after that, yeah, the characters, if I had to pick a number one character, it would have been Batman a few years ago. And I still collect a lot of Batman, but I think now it has to be Superman because I've been tracking down so much of the Silver Age stuff and particularly Adventure Comics, Legion of Superheroes. So the 1960s Legion team with Superboy and, you know, any Superman or action from that same time period, I'm into Jimmy and Lois because Superman's in it, you know, so that it's Superman's my guy and I'm going to get to him about 20 different ways right now.
I love that.
All right, Kate, origin story, favorite character. I think I got the character part figured out, but I want to hear from you.
Well, mine is kind of a twofold. Like when I was young, I was reading a lot of comics. I don't really have any of those left. I ended up reading a lot of Archie, G.I. Joe, and then just random, like issue 7 of this run of this random character.
Whatever you could find, basically.
Exactly. And then now probably about 2 years ago, I was watching and stumbled into the Harley Quinn animated series show, which had some tie-in comics. So I went down to my first time going into an actual comic shop, looked for the Eat, Bang, Kill tour, issue 1. Okay. I remember going behind up to the, desk and being like, how do I make sure I get this every week? And, getting my first pull in my subscription box. And so that really led me to go, okay, that's pretty good. Let me look for another story with these characters. And till now, my subscription box has got a nice stack each week. But that's really what drew me in. And then for me, my favorite character is Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn. So those two characters, while Poison Ivy's first run just started, are in a lot of things. So I've just been able to kind of hop around into a lot of different books starting from the 60s until now. Okay. And it's been a lot of fun, definitely more DC heavy, and definitely more focused on the women characters of them as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, whenever I see you in Cheddar's like live plane sales, if he throws up something that's got a female lead, like Wonder Woman, Poison, I'm like, okay, I'm out.
Just grabbed these last couple shows. I was like, gotta get me some Harley Quinn. He ended up with a bunch of those, so I was able to get some really great ones that I haven't had the individual issues yet, so I was really stoked about.
Very cool. Yeah, and that's the neat...
Sorry, Eric.
Go ahead, Richard.
Whoever decided to put those two together is an absolute genius because those two characters needed each other with or without the relationship. it was an absolute perfect. It was a match made in heaven because they needed each other at the times that they were being written. I think that they really needed to separate Joker and Harley because that was toxic. And I just think that relationship is one of the best in comic books.
Absolutely. They really round each other out, with one being so much more serious and like not necessarily striving to be violent, but willing to use that, versus the other who so goofy and maybe still not trying to do anything to disrupt larger play, but just trying to get into being disruptive itself. So it's been a lot of fun reading those two together.
Yeah, and I think the only experience I have in that relationship is I was getting the Gotham City Sirens, the newest series that was going, and I really didn't know anything about that relationship until I started reading that, and I was like, boy, this is silly. It's like they complement each other perfectly, where it's like Harley likes to get into, shenanigans, and then there's Harley or Poison Ivy that's there to kind of rein her back in so she doesn't go super crazy. And we have another guest,
Kitty,
which I was going to go. And then we have like the dorm mother of Catwoman on there. So it's just like you have all those little characters, and it's interesting because in the past, classic DC, it's like those characters were always supporting role characters. And like you said, Richard, Harley and Joker was toxic. And it's like Harley just never could shine. She was always just that kind of used and abused and crazy, and just, she didn't have any kind of, robust character until they did do that. And it's like she really got to develop. And I think she's still developing, in the comics at this point. So a lot of room for it, which is cool.
It's fun. Yeah, you definitely can't say her first appearance to now is the same person.
Yeah, and what was that? That was back. So she's a little bit different too. Her first appearance was actually in the animated series, and then shortly after that, they brought her into the comics. There's not too many characters that are like that, but she made such an impact at that time that people wanted to see her more. So, very interesting how her origin story started.
Absolutely.
And I actually have right behind me a zombie Harley.
You could probably see a couple of my little ones up there as well.
All right, well, there is the origin story. So what we are going to do, guys, is we are going to play a little game that I started last episode. And this one, let's see, I think I got my little bumpers to work this time. So let me go to there, and we are going to play a game. I think I called it this last time. It is called
Icon.
My wife,
I was not expecting that. It was great.
My wife is gonna love that. That was my wife. I had her come in. I said, "Oh, just say this real quick. I want to record you." And I held up my mic to her, and then I took it into Audacity and did all kinds of crazy stuff with it. And I was like, "I need a bumper. I like it." So we are gonna play a game called Icons, where what we're gonna do. See, I wrote my notes down. Make sure I say this all right. Is we're going to randomly pick two iconic comic characters that I put in a bucket. We draw two out. We talk about them, like kind of what their power set, first appearances, what we think of them, their coolness factor, what makes them cool, just general type of information like that. And then they get to battle it out in the Sunday Showdown to see who's the ultimate. I don't want to say ultimate warrior. That's a whole nother genre, but you guys know what I'm saying. And last time we pulled out Batman and Mando. So these two battled, but when we pull them out based on my guest, I want to add some new ones. So you guys during the origin stories, we're talking about your favorite characters. So we got new ones that I am adding into the pile. So this is slowly going to grow a little bit. And we could get some weird combos. I mean, last time we had an interesting combo.
It was an interesting one for sure.
In Mando, yeah. So the ones that we're adding are they're straight comic book characters, but I have a lot of them still in there from last time. So who knows what we're gonna get. But let me get these ready, and I need to get my bucket. So my bucket is a traditional bucket head. Oh, in it is the ultimate mutant. But we flip it. Let me give the names a little shake here and pour them in here. And we're going to draw out 2. So there's 1 and 2. All right. Rest that over there. So what we have, well, Richard is in luck because the first one we got and we're going to talk about is Captain America. So what do you guys know about Captain America? What do you guys know what his first appearance is? He's an old one. We're going way back before any of us were born. So
yeah. No, I don't know anything about Golden Age Captain America, really. Versus when he came back in Avengers 4, I sort of understand that Captain America going up to modern day. But Golden Age, I'm here to learn.
I'm glad I could provide some learning opportunities. So Captain America first appearance was Captain America Comics #1 in 1940. So what I like for him, and he gets accused of this a little bit, is that he is kind of locked in time a little bit. And creative writers have brought him into the modern times, which is what makes him an interesting character because he still has that that 1940s mentality of he's a gentleman, and he's fighting for what's right for America, and he's battling what was some of his major villains was Red Skull, right, and all the Nazis, of course, and so he's an interesting character. He's a symbol. He's always been a symbol for what is right. So, what do you guys think of like his character, his power set? I mean, what is his cool factor, I guess, is what I'm getting.
I love when he is written as doing the right thing against the authority figure. So, like, when the whole Captain America No More or Civil War, he's going against the authorities because he's holding up the ideals. And that's when, like, his man out of time and his sense of right and wrong is really cool, in my opinion. I think it's really easy to write him as a goofy Boy Scout. Superman, that happened to many times as well.
Yeah.
So, like any character, like he can be done. I mean, the Brubaker run, Captain America, was really cool. So that's I guess that's my take. Like, I think when he's good, he's good, and I'm not an expert by any stretch, especially when you look at like the 70s and 80s Cap. I know more about 90s forward.
See, I was introduced to him, I think, in the 80s, vaguely on like different miniseries. And I think for a while he was in, it is at that time that we got Walker coming out. So we had, U.S. Agent, and they had their conflict of who was, the new Captain America. And then one went to West Coast and the other one stayed in, Avengers. And it was just, he's one of those characters that he was crossing over in a lot of the different books at that time.
Yeah.
Especially like when you have the big epic events like Secret Wars and stuff. He was always on the forefront of, he was a leader, right? And
right.
And a lot of the, he was a character that as a real person you could look up to his ideals, and just seeing how they wrote him for other characters to basically do better, to try to get up to that level, which is, it makes him an interesting character.
Big Nasty says he was worthy of the hammer. And I mean, I think that says a lot too. I really do.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was one of the heroes in Maximum Carnage as well. So he crosses over with Spider-Man and with the X-Men. He was in X-Men 97. He was one of the few characters from that non-mutant heroes that was in X-Men 97. So he works very well with different groups of people. But yeah, I've always loved him for, like what Nate said, was he's better when he's fighting oppression, when he's fighting for the little guys. is he doesn't need a whole list of enemies. It just needs to be, he needs to be fighting for the right reasons. He needs to be fighting against tyranny.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Now, what do you guys think about his power set? Because he's altered. He's an altered human, so
Yeah.
a mutate technically, super soldier.
Yeah.
I mean, and they've tried doing storylines with that many times in different series with him, where they try to reproduce it. Is it something that should be left alone and unique to him? Do we need more super soldiers? I think there's enough super beings that we don't need them in the Marvel universe.
Definitely prefer it more limited to him. Definitely stories where maybe it can be a possibility for somewhere else or trying to stop that. But I like him being sort of unique because it's not all that unique. So definitely more limited to him in those.
Yeah, so one of my favorite series that he was in was actually not a Captain America series, but Invaders. I love the 70s Invaders. I wish I had the series by me, but there was one particular issue where they showed this Nazi woman in like black. She had a cat of 9 tails and stuff. And I'm like, what is this? And you see Cap and the original Human Torch and Namor in the background. And it hooked me. It hooked me because it took place during that time period. So you got to see kind of almost these golden age villains and other heroes they worked in there. And I just ate that series up. And he was always on the forefront. I loved it's one of those almost those teams. I like those teams where they're just oddball characters thrown together. New Warriors, champions, the Defenders. I love those teams where they take very strong individuals and mash them up and see what happens. Sometimes it's explosive, sometimes it's just a lot of adventure, and that's what that series was for me with Cap. All right, so that was Captain America. I think we touched pretty good on him. He's got a lot of fans. Like I said, he's been around for a long time. So now the second one, and the second one is, this ought to be interesting. So we got, man, I had to really unwind it. Catwoman.
Oh.
So we just had our cat up here left, but Catwoman. So this is another kind of old one, not as old as Captain America, but Catwoman's first appearance. Anybody?
It's there's a Golden Age Catwoman, isn't there?
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
Because I know her Silver Age first appearance is a Lois Lane, because it's one of the pricier ones I'm trying to track down. Gosh, I can't. I don't know. I want to. I'm sure it's an old
my
detective.
first Catwoman was Julie Newmar.
Okay.
Back in the 60s TV show. But first Catwoman, she was known as the Cat, just the Cat, and it was Batman #1.
Oh wow.
1940. So I guess she was just her character was originally, as it is still, a cat burglar, and she only appeared in a little bit of the actual comics. So she's just as old as Batman. So it's interesting. I'm not sure when they changed it to Catwoman, but she goes pretty far back there. Now she does not have powers that I know of, right?
Nope.
She's just a very skilled human.
Yes.
So what do we think of her character then? She
She
started as a villain pretty much, right? She's always, from I remember growing up, a villain.
I also think
for the most part, yeah.
But she's also written a lot as an anti-hero. You know, she's had several ongoing series where she is kind of written as the person, the thief with the heart of gold. She steals for the right reasons to support a particular group of oppressed people or whatever. And she's if people are, if the mob is hurting the little people, then she gets involved. Otherwise she wants to stay out of it. She's that classic, I just want to do my own thing, but it's easy to draw her in. Yeah. And she's kind of written like Batman, in that she's well trained. Everything about her is just that she's a very well trained, athletic human. So you gotta suspend a little disbelief there.
Yeah, she's kind of like the other side of the coin of Batman.
Yeah.
A little bit. I mean, she's a cat burglar, but does she need to do this? No. I mean, she's got that background where she's got money. She's just doing it for the thrill and because I want to see if I can do it. So, but I think up until recent, she's had that type of role, but now they're starting to develop her where she's more of an ally, working with the Gotham Knights and Robin and the other sirens of Gotham. To the point that she's in that leadership role, right? She knows what needs to get done and does it. So it makes her an interesting character. I mean, besides the old 60s show, my other experience with Catwoman was Michelle Pfeiffer in Batman Returns, where she was a little nutso in that.
A little bit,
and I liked that version of her, and for a long time, that's where I was stuck. But with the modern comics, how they're writing her, I'm like, no, there's more to her. And I don't know if it took that long to really get her to that point. Was she always just stuck in that supporting role? And she's just now in modern comics coming out? I don't know.
I mean, I think so. Since the 90s, she kind of became more of a main, character along with Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn, Gotham City Sirens, and I know she had 2 different ongoings in the 90s.
Yeah, I think I found some in the discount bins, like the number 0 and stuff. I was like, let's grab this.
But what about the one, is it an Adam Hughes where she's holding her prisoner number, the mugshot one? That thing's worth a ton of money because it's very desired by collectors.
Yeah, and there was a couple other series that I want to check out with her, just that where she's the focus. There's not other supporting. I mean, Kate, you probably know of those ones. This is one of your characters.
Yeah, it is. No, I would definitely recommend. I think it's Lonely City. It's part of their black label for her, but she gets much more of a voice and realizes that she just does need to step up, where normally you kind of have to, it's not hard, but you do have to kind of drag her into either, maybe a plot to go steal something with others, or maybe, do the right thing. But in that story, it takes place with this large time jump where she was in prison. And many of the Bat family were killed in this large event, and sort of how age takes a toll on her and what she's able to do, and how she gets a better sense of maybe right and wrong and that desire to go out and help others. I always think she's just such an interesting character because you're so right. She just, if she sees someone in trouble, she might not want to step in, but she's going to. You can kind of always count on her. And also just an interesting sort of, I don't want to say foil for Batman, but just, who can show maybe at times where his own desires are and his goals that might not align with what you think Batman should do.
Yeah, and he's like a whole nother bag of stuff all in himself. I mean,
yep.
Well, I liked the Tom King storyline of their whole courtship and marriage and all of that. I thought it was really her character, especially the one that stands out to me, is that she goes to get permission from Talia al Ghul to marry Batman because Bruce Wayne has promised to her, and like that's her like having to prove that she can do something, because he's telling her you don't have to go do this, but they're traipsing through the desert, which was hilarious because they were both wearing their cowls, but also like they're in the desert.
Yeah.
And they go fight the League of Shadows together. Like, I mean, come on, that's true love.
It is. It's got to be in that suit. Oof.
I'm not a big DC guy, so I don't really have too much weight in here, but my favorite version of Catwoman was actually in the Injustice, after Nightwing dies and Catwoman goes to the Batcave and just takes off his mask and says, just don't be Batman just for tonight. That's my favorite version of Catwoman.
Yeah.
That's a version that I would probably really get interested in, is just seeing Batman and Catwoman together. I think that they, in that TV show or that movie, they complemented each other really well.
Yeah. Yeah. I always say put two nuts people together and maybe you got a full bag of nuts. I don't know.
I haven't heard that one, but I'm gonna write that down.
Kate and Nate, is that something that you guys would like to see with Catwoman, or just not at all? Like Batman should just be left alone and no love interest?
When it's done well, I am all for it. I don't there's times that, like, I guess I'll say Batman Begins, okay? Like, I never bought in that particular movie that he gave a damn. I really didn't. And so that felt like Batman. It felt like the executive saying Batman needs a girlfriend. Who's gonna be up? Who's gonna be a female lead for the new Batman picture? It felt forced. So, like, and then in the Batman with Robert Pattinson and Zoe Kravitz, like, that one felt, and it wasn't forced, it wasn't over the top that they were this, couple, but the tension was believable. Like, it felt like two damaged people who recognized damage in each other and thought, hey, maybe we can be a bag of nuts together, Eric. So, Richard, I don't know if I'm answering your question, but I'm all for it when it's done well, because Batman is a damaged character.
Yeah.
And the different members of the Batman family play different roles in, like, helping to keep him somewhat grounded. And I think there's a place for her as that character when done well.
That's a good way to put that. He's a damaged character that needs to be reminded, why are you doing this? And like you said, every major character, Robin, Nightwing, Alfred, are all characters that, keep him grounded, because otherwise he would just spiral out of control. And they've done that before in certain storylines where he has gone off over that edge.
Yes.
But yeah, that's interesting to keep. And as probably one of the few female characters in his life too, that will work with him, not against him, because he does have his
he has plenty of adversaries.
But that's she is his equal, if not his better, in his opinion, in that relationship. Like, Barbara Gordon, all the other, the Batgirls, they are lieutenants. You know what I mean? Like, they respect him. I think he respects Selena, and that's why she's a strong character.
Yeah.
And
True.
Like you said, Nate and Eric was the different people in his lives. Like, Alfred is clearly the father figure that he needs. So different people play different roles, and I really hope that he needs that strong female character in his life. That stays with him.
Yeah.
If you can convince DC editorial to let it happen, because that's the problem. That's the freaking problem is, they don't want to commit to changing. That's a whole different conversation. But Spider-Man's not married. Batman's not married. Superman is sometimes. I don't know how it works, but yeah.
All right. So we covered all our characters that we drew out tonight. So this is my favorite part. So this is where
come get some.
They get to show down. Right? Fisticuffs, and they're both technically heroes. Well, one's an anti-hero, but who is going to win in this? So this one, I don't know. This one, even though we got Captain America, who's an altered human, he's got super strength and all that stuff and agility, and then we have just a very skilled acrobatic human. I think this is an interesting matchup because it comes down to Captain America's ideals, right? He's going to be pulling punches because she's a woman. He's going to be pulling punches because he is got a lot of power, and he doesn't want to, his conscience is going to be his downfall. That's going to be his true enemy. And Selena, she's going to take advantage of
She's smart.
She's smart to basically win, to get the job done, right? Yeah. So what do you guys think of this matchup?
I think he should win on raw power, but I think you're right. I think his ideals are his weakness, and that is what she would be smart about exploiting. Like with some people, she's going to be the vixen, to get there to distract them, but not with him. She'll probably be an injured woman or something to make him like stop for I'm picturing the amalgam universe, right? Like when we would get the issue that had the battle and Cap and Catwoman are fighting in Gotham City right now, and yeah, she's gonna do some ploy where she's a damsel in distress, and that's the moment she's gonna take her advantage, and now he's unconscious and she just won.
Exactly. I don't think she's necessarily winning. I think she's trying to trap him.
Yeah.
Lure him in.
Make a mistake.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not very often that Cap does that, but because I think that big factor, he's a man out of time. He's from a time period when gentlemen were gentlemen, and the fairer sex is, that, to kind of make him, type of thing. Or she could make him blush, which I've seen before.
Yes, that's a good point.
Not seduce him, but I think she could, but
yeah, she could do something that he would be like, oh, I shouldn't be looking at this, and he averts his eyes, and that's when she cracks him right in the back of the skull. Okay, so that fight definitely, I think, would go that way, but maybe in the second one, Steve knows what he's up against, and he just knows how to take her out immediately because there's just no point. I can't let her show her butt again.
It's his weakness. America's butt's weakness is Catwoman.
Oh, that's wonderful.
What do you think, Richard? Captain America was your boy, so...
There's a story. I don't know if it's Punisher War Journal or War Zone, something like that, where Iron Man just goes after Punisher, and Cap was the one that was like, "You're underestimating him," and Iron Man goes over there, and I think Punisher just destroys him with strategy. I don't think Captain America would look down on her or underappreciate or undervalue her. I think he's going to go in there knowing that this is going to be a fight. He's very strategic and very smart. Even though she's not a soldier, he's probably going to know what she's capable of. And I don't think he's going to go in thinking this is just going to be just a woman, a non-powered woman. I think he's going to be smarter than that. So just by how he understands other people. So I think he would definitely pull his punches. I don't think he would hit, but I think that he would probably try to figure out a way to restrain.
Yeah, I could see him doing that and not going full off, and putting her down hard. He's the type that let's restrain you, let's calm it down type of thing without that, ultimate force and carnage and stuff. Whereas she's going to be taking cheap shots.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yep.
Everything's a weapon.
But Richard's right. Like I mean, Cap's been in a few, right? Like it doesn't matter. It's not his first rodeo, and he would be analyzing her fight style.
Yes.
Especially if it was like never seen her before, he would recognize the acrobatics. He would recognize what he needs to do against that type of adversary.
Yeah, kind of do a little bit of sparring to figure out the body language and stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh, God, is anyone writing this down? Because I want to,
this needs to be a book.
I want to see this drawn out, and not by me.
All right, so I think so. Let's go around. Let's take a vote. So, Richard, your vote is for Cap.
Yeah, Cap.
Okay,
yep.
Nate.
I in a round one fight, I'm sorry, it's my own headcanon, right? That's all I'm going on. I'm giving it to Catwoman in the first one.
Okay, we're split here.
Here's the weird part, though, is to go back to the DC versus Marvel. Is I think Batman beat Captain America, and Catwoman is almost equal to Batman. So using that logic, Catwoman can beat Captain America.
I like it.
Didn't they fight in the sewers and Batman ended up winning?
Yes. Yeah. When we started talking this, that's the picture that's in my head right now is that sewer fight, except I put Catwoman in Batwoman's place.
Kate, what do you think?
I mean, I would love to see it. I think she'd put up a good fight, but ultimately Cap would probably restrain her or get out of whatever her trap was.
Okay, this makes
I'm not saying she can't get him into it. I'm just saying, is he going to stay in it?
this is tough now here because we're kind of this is split because I am going with Catwoman. I think she's gonna fight dirty. She's gonna get the job done. She doesn't care that he's America's favorite son.
Yeah.
You know, she's gonna do what she's got to do. She's gonna take that shield and whoosh, put up his rear end. So we're like split here. This might be for the panel here a draw, unless
No.
there's an outside factor.
My cat, he voted for Catwoman. So
Gotta stick
he's
together.
right over there.
There you go. Catwoman's gonna take it in this. You guys that are watching, weigh in on this one. This one's a tough one for us. We're kind of split here. I want to see what everybody else in the interweb land says about this battle. I am going to have to go dig out that battle now and reread that because it's been a long time since I've read that.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
But either way, I think with these two characters who are vastly different, we are saying like you could write this really well either way. You really could, and it wouldn't be unsatisfying either way. You wouldn't be like, oh come on. It
would be entertaining, I think.
Yeah,
I mean, look at what they've done with crossovers before, like Batman and Predator, or Batman and Judge Dredd, and Catwoman. You could just slot in Catwoman with all these crossovers easily because they're from the same universe, that same dark gothic theme. That's like last week the last episode we did pull out Batman, and one of the big things was that what makes him so fascinating and interesting is that he is human. He doesn't have superpowers other than his wallet and his brain. Catwoman's very similar to that. She has a unique set of skills that she is the best at those skills. So compared to somebody that's more or less relies on their powers, she could take advantage of that, I think. So, all right. Well, that was the second episode of, let me get it back.
Icon.
I had to do it one more time.
You're gonna need it as a ringtone, you know?
It's so good in headphones, man.
It is. The echo.
That's awesome. So this would not be a comic community show and wouldn't be called Sunday Show Off if we didn't show off books. So this is the part of the show
I was supposed to get books.
You just have to turn around and grab some. I see some behind you.
There are so many over here. It's not even funny.
But yeah, we're going to show off some books that we got in this past month. They could be either. So I have a little bit of rules. Granted, I break my own rules. So these are just guidelines, I guess. But like each week of the past month, I have gone through and pick out what my favorite new releases were. And then it can be one of the four or a new one that's like the one that I was most excited for. So you guys could do that if you wanted. And the other one was or your favorite quest that you got, your discoveries from the past month, new pickups, that type of thing, which would be basically you're going to a show or a store and you're digging in long boxes. So, who wants to show off some cool comic books first?
Actually, got to grab something over here. So,
I'm ready. So
you're ready,
I'll
Richard?
start us
All right,
off.
Richard is gonna go first.
So most people probably don't know, but I binge read. I don't like to get subscriptions and pick up comic books and read an issue and being left on a cliffhanger and then having to wait a month. I don't know how people do that, especially with like 5 or 6 series. How do you remember what happens in these, X-Men, Avengers, Spider-Man, Batman, Wonder Woman, and then read those, and then next month read the next issue of them? I don't get it. So I'm a binge reader. So one way I read is I just have been Googling indie comic books. Just trying to find good series, and got this one. This was in a lot of people saying read Reborn from Image Comics.
Okay.
Mark Miller, Greg Capullo, you can't go wrong with them. Fantastic. Read all 6 issues of it. And you could tell how much I enjoy it is if I just continue reading. You know, I try to give myself an hour before I go to bed, and if I pass that time, I'm invested in that series. And I've never really been into Image before. I just thought Image was Spawn and Invincible. But just finding out, I think that these were gifted to me.
Oh, wow.
But
Okay.
Moon Man, Black Coat. What else do I got? Yeah, and well, that's it. But got these 2 series as well. But Image is putting out some amazing stories, and
Yeah,
like Nate said, I'm a reader before a collector. And these comic books that Image that has been doing recently have just been fantastic storytelling.
Yeah, I think my early introduction to Image was going back to the 90s when we had Rob and Liefeld, and we were getting
Jim Lee.
Spawn and Jim Lee and all that stuff, and it changed, I think, in that decade where they started taking chances on storytellers. And like right now, so I left Image and Independent for a long time, and then the last couple of years I started taking notice because I started hearing people talk about these independent stories that are very raw. They're not your typical superhero stories. There's some dark stuff that they're dealing with, some of these stories. And as an adult that's read all this superhero stuff for a long time, to get an independent story like some of the ones you showed, Richard, it's refreshing. It's like you look at it, this isn't a comic book, this is just a really well written story. So I urge people, if they're interested in branching out, look at what Image is doing. I mean, have you been reading any of the Ghost Machine stuff that they're putting out with Geiger and Rook and all that stuff?
I'm sure I have a few copies of them just to get me interested in
Yeah.
them, but haven't gotten into them just because I'm gonna read one, see if I like it, and then just buy the whole series or just get caught up on them because I can't be left on cliffhangers. But the interesting part about Image is they're not just superheroes, which that's what I was primarily focused on up until around 4 to 6 months ago. Was I just wanted a comic book superhero, and these ones are fantasy, are adventure, are lots of different genres in Image. So it's not just superheroes that they're writing.
And Richard, do you ever go to the library and just pick up trades? Like Image, actually, like you said, they have so many different genres, and I love when I can go get 6 to 12 issues at once and really get into a story.
That's
Freedom's Edge. This comic book was this is written by Ben Taz, a good friend of Mike from Lunch Money Comics and from Brandon from Mon Comics, and this was fantastic read. I mean, an absolutely fantastic read. This is one of my favorite books of all time. And again, it was a little bit of a change of pace from comic books from superheroes, and it was just so well written. The story was fantastic. The art was simple, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. It was simple in the sense where it focused on the story, and you weren't admiring the art. It was just a general comic book to get you the images to see what happens. And it was so beautifully done that at the 3rd act, when the action picks up and there's less dialogue, the pages were just turning themselves. So it almost looked like a flip book. It was just beautifully done. One of the best stories I've ever read. And then some more comic books that were given to me by friends of mine, lifelong friends that have had Broodbreaker. But yeah, Nate, you're absolutely right. Is these trade paperbacks and just exploring different type of books.
So yeah, you just showed Ice Cream Man. So if you guys are into that dark horror stuff, Image is putting stuff out that's just, my wife is not a comic book person at all. And I got her the first trade of that and Something Killing the Children, and she ate them up because she was one of those people in the public that thinks comic books are all superheroes. So I got her these ones because I know she likes horror stories. She's a Stephen King fan. She likes reading all that stuff. So I said, try this, see if you like it. And she just, she fell in love with it. And one of my books coming up is actually hers that I got for her. And I think she hasn't started it yet because she's still trying. She's like you, Richard. She doesn't like to stop. She kind of wants to read through everything and not have those cliffhangers. So she's waiting to start this one, but I'll show you guys in a little bit.
There are so many
Berserker
good,
and some.
I was just going to say horror anthologies right now are just kind of they're the flavor of the month, but man, what a time to be into little short horror stories.
Yeah.
Berserker and Something is Killing the Children. Those are two comic books that everyone is recommending, and I'm probably going to jump into those ones and get caught up and do what I normally do is just subscribe to the comic books, but wait 6 months and build them up, because that's what I did with Avengers Twilight. Is I bought all the issues, it just sat on my shelf. As soon as I got to the final one, then I end up reading it.
Nice.
I just got this from Cheddar like a couple of weeks ago. He had the whole run, and I was like, yeah, just give it all to me.
God, I love when someone has the whole run ready to go.
That's awesome. And see, I read that Berserker as a trade and just loved it.
Yeah, and sometimes a trade's a good option for a lot of these independents. You know, they have lower print runs, so sometimes they can be hard to find or expensive to find. So to be able to find it in a trade, you don't run into that problem of, oh, I'm missing one issue in 6 issues here. So you can just digest it all at once. And a lot of times those trades, they end it kind of at a point that is a transition, to a different part of the story. So you don't feel like you're like, what happened? But it's like, okay, what happens next?
Yeah, I also like, especially for a lot of the stories you've just shown, is they're so condensed. So they're a great one for, those are ones that I tend to recommend for anybody who's like, okay, I'm looking for a comic to read. But if you just say Supergirl, it's like, okay, where do I go? Where do I start? Which, version of the character, which writer, where, these, you can give them a trade or two, and all of a sudden they can hop right into wherever that series is right there. And that's all you have to catch up on.
Yeah. Very good point. There she is.
Except this is a frightening Supergirl. She's,
Is this another zombie one?
Zombie one.
Oh, yeah.
That's frightening. Well, is that all you got, Richard? You got more? Or what was your number one pick? What was your most excited?
One more thing?
Yeah. What were you most excited for all the stuff you showed?
I got bad internet right now. You were breaking up. But I just got one more thing to show.
Okay.
Is a comic book that recently picking up is Ram God. And one thing that you're going to find is when you go to local comic creators or indie ones, you can write these guys a letter. You can reach out to them on Instagram. And the creators of it, Morgan and Owen, I end up buying this comic book and they end up signing it for me, the first issue. But the smaller indie ones, the artists, the creators, they'll reach right out to you. And you go to cons and their booths are not as busy, so you can go up to them and approach them and talk with them and get signatures, sometimes for free. As much as I love Marvel, but indie comic books is probably a good direction right now, just by the quality of the comics, the quality of the storytelling, and just the artists and the writers.
Yeah, it's almost a lot of the indie artists and writers, it's their passion creators in a sense that they put a lot of themselves into that. So as a fan, they really appreciate that, you're picking up their stuff and reading it and supporting them, so very good. All right. Richard, thank you. Some good picks there. I'm gonna have to
Heck
go back
yeah.
and write down some of those books. Nate, are you ready? Do you want to go
Sure.
next? Okay.
Sure. I have a ton, and I'm not gonna like show every last little thing. I wanna, but I gotta
You're
piggyback
like
on
me. You
Richard.
got big piles.
It's insane. Like I have a real problem. And that's just the one that's up here. All right. So the two best books you're not reading from Image right now is The Holy Roller, which if you're only going to read one bowling based superhero book where he fights Nazis in Ohio, make it The Holy Roller. So it's co-written by Andy Samberg from Saturday Night Live. So there is a humor aspect to it.
Okay.
But it is legitimately, it starts off with a guy whose dad is like a semi-professional bowler. And then he ends up back in town, and it's very Roadhouse. Like the evil guy wants to close down the rec center or something, and he ends up becoming a bowling-based superhero. The other one is Grommets by Rick Remender and Brian Posen. So this is a 1980s skateboarding coming of age comic book. I think there's 4 or 5 issues out right now. This is the first 2. I couldn't find the other ones over there in my box, but I mean, it is just an 80s summer movie about a kid who moves to California, makes friends with a skateboard crowd. And that's it. The art is very dynamic, and it reminds me of Mad Magazine. I just love this for the story. Rick Remender's doing a lot of like really cool things right now. Actually, he's doing The Holy Roller too. Those are both from his company. And then new pickups this month. I know Kate and I were both really excited for this one.
So excited.
Dazzler #1.
I love Terry Dodson too.
The Terry Dodson
Yes.
cover is beautiful. I wanted to get the variant, and I am not a variant guy at all, but I wanted the variant of her on the hood of the car, but I didn't want to pay $15 for it, so I didn't. Kate, what did you think of this book? Like, what did you think of the first issue?
So I had lots of thoughts on it. As a person who doesn't read a lot of X-Men overall, it was a little hard to hop into it, which makes sense. But it didn't really have a story in issue 1, so I have no idea what is going to come. It really just was her at her concert, facing some, as we just sort of know in the Marvel Universe, discrimination as a mutant. But I am hoping we get introduced to anything in the second issue.
Okay. You can write the review blurb because you covered my thoughts perfectly. Like it just felt like it was empty, and it felt like Marvel cookie cutter. Like it felt like it could have been any Marvel.
People are into Dazzler right now.
And I was really upset because I really am. I mean, I am putting that run together. I love the absurdity of that character. 2 more new books. Jeff Lemire's Minor Arcana, issue 1.
Are they drawing Dazzler like Taylor Swift?
I mean, I think they leaned into it a little bit.
A little bit.
Okay. I just remember when in
the other
Four,
stuff, not as much.
They drew that one guy like Krasinski.
Yeah. The interior art is, I mean, it's not Terry Dodson. I wish it was.
That would be amazing. It's not as much.
I don't know where I got. I actually last show I showed off a book I got that was Taylor Swift, and she looked like Dazzler.
Yes, I've seen that. The only other thing I grabbed that was a new book from my pull list, which wasn't on my pull list, but I pulled it off the wall, was this Plastic Man No More. It's a Black
I've been
Label
hearing
book.
about that one a little bit.
I really liked this. So, I mean, as far as like new books, this would be my surprise of the month. How much I really liked this. And I told you earlier, like I grabbed some books, like thinking about all you guys. These are all legit things I picked up. So, Eric, I thought you would be excited by The Sectars.
Oh my gosh, you know me so well. I have been looking at a set of that at my store. Like every week I go in there, I'm like, it's still the same price. Should I get it?
Well, I got the first 5 issues. It came as like something I got on. Did you have the toys?
I had the toys. I had all the good guys, and my brother had the bad guys. So yeah, we would
I think
battle.
you and I had a similar life. Like they would just buy the toys for my brother and I, and
it's the Midwest mentality. I think
it really was. So yeah, I don't know how many issues there are, but I got the first 5, and I thought that was
9
awesome.
or 10 because they have the full set at the store, and they're all high grade, and I think they want $85 for them. Ooh. And I'm just like now, should I do it? Because usually when I see them, they're beat. They're really beat.
Mine are beat. Mine are. I mean, but I'm a reader first, no matter what. Okay, Kate. So for you, the thing that made my connection to you here. Okay, so I got this Marvel Universe, which, if you can't tell, has our friend Allison Blair. There's the Dazzler in her second costume. And yes. I love I love Who's Who from DC, and I love these these character bio type things. Spread. It's great. So I don't know. I like when you get to just do that, just read about the character. So that's
how I learned about a lot of characters, was that series in the 80s.
Yes,
and read about them.
Exactly. I picked up 2 other Dazzlers. This one is her and Savage She-Hulk. Look at Savage She-Hulk wearing the bed sheet, torn up, and she wears it through the whole thing. Mm-hmm. At one point, this was so much fun. At one point, Dazzler and She-Hulk steal a semi, like Smokey and the Bandit style. I could hear the theme music, like Eastbound and Down, in my head as they're driving. And Dazzler has, her powers work by her using sound and converting it to light. So they rev this 18-wheeler as hard as they can so that she can get all the sounds from the diesel engine. And she uses that against the bad guys. And it becomes like this massive weapon for her, which was hysterical. And then the other, I got more Dazzlers too, but this was the other one I got to show you. This is the photo cover.
Oh, yes.
So I love all the Marvel photo covers, but this one I really wanted. I do wish you could see more of her, but I just think it's the right amount of this actress, whoever they hired. They told
it's look so at that dramatic in the best
look
way.
Look at that pose. They're like, be powerful, I guess. Okay, click. So this was pretty good, and then. Last weekend, I bought at a garage sale, pretty much unseen. My dad found it. Hey, see ya, Big Nasty. My dad found a set of 400 books they were asking $0.25 a piece for. And I said, and he sent me a couple of pictures, and I saw what they I had no idea what they were, but I saw some 90s and 2000s DC stuff that I was looking for. So I said, ask them if they take $50 for all of it. And I'm just thinking, maybe I can do okay on this. And my dad lowballed them even more. He offered them 40 and they took it. So my dad dumps these 2 boxes, and it's it's crazy.
That's amazing.
And so I've got all these books, and I'm looking at them right now. It's just crazy how many there are. And then in there, I found some wild stuff like Cap, I don't know, this era of Captain America.
Okay.
And so I had 332 and 333, which I've already promised to some other people. But the thing in there that that I thought most people would be into, and Richard for sure, the original run of What If. So I don't have number 1. But keep in mind that if you break this down, I paid 9 cents a book. Okay. Wow. And so I paid 9 cents for What If number 2. Number 3, What If the Avengers had never been?
Oh my gosh.
What if, hey, how about this one, Eric? What if the invaders had stayed together after World War II? Don't you want to know? That. You can read it in here.
Yeah.
What if the Fantastic Four had different superpowers?
Those look good grades, too.
They're in pretty good shape. The Avengers during the 1950s. I have the Gwen Stacy one, too. What if Gwen Stacy had lived, but I promised that one away.
That's a good one right there.
What if Phoenix had not died? I thought that one might get your interest, too. Yeah. And the one that, so all of those are probably books that I think they're really cool, and I'm going to read them. But then they're probably going to be books that I trade or sell because I want to make my money back on what I spent. And I can't keep you can't keep everything. I try, but I can't keep everything. The one I'm going to keep though is this one.
Oh yeah.
What if the original Marvel bullpen had become the Fantastic Four? Look at Stan. Look at me. I'm stretching. I mean, it's just hysterical. So, I mean, those were the books whenever I go on a hangout or something, sometimes I like to what do I have that the other people would like? And so when I was, checking out your guys' stuff, I just thought those were all books you guys would dig. And I'm going to end with, this is sort of, I've shown this one on my channel, but I don't know if Kate has seen it. And since she loves Dazzler so much, I have to make her aware that this exists. Do you know about Nightcat?
I cannot say that I do. What the hell is that?
Okay. So this is their attempt at a Dazzler-like character in the 90s. And they took this one so far. She is a musical performer and a lawyer and something else. They actually
Is that what she wears as a lawyer?
No, this is when she's the Nightcat. And
it's like boots and a brassiere.
There's only one issue of this. The interior art, oh my god, this is a Joe Jusko cover. This is like high end, right? On the inside, I think it might be, I can't remember. It's somebody semi-famous, but their style is kind of rough at the time. But they have an album, like you can find it on cassette, where they recorded this Paula Abdul sounding stuff. And so,
don't worry.
Yeah, if you're into the absurdity of Dazzler, you must have a copy of Nightcat in your collection. Is like, a nice little side dish to that main course.
That's amazing. If I can find it on Spotify too, I'll listen to some.
I have listened to a few minutes of it on YouTube. You can definitely find some of those tracks on YouTube, and they are very, very well, for me, middle school pop radio, and it's not okay.
Man, oh man, good stuff, Nate. Good stuff. I cannot wait to see your comic room video, because I think you were tagged recently.
I've got 2 tags I'm working on here next week to try to get out the following week.
Yeah, I gotta start working on mine too. Unlike you, I do try to keep everything, which you will see.
That's just it, man. When you see, you'll see that I'm not doing a good job of getting rid of anything.
All right, Kate, you're up. What do you got to show off, everybody?
So you'll notice that it is mostly DC that I have picked up, but a few others. But just some shout outs the past few weeks. I think, is it Nicholas Scott?
Oh yeah, I remember
these covers that they've had with characters kind of throughout history. I really just enjoyed picking up. Try not to pick up too many variants, but I couldn't resist. Just kind of seeing this artist's take on each of these characters through history. I think they did a great job of kind of keeping who they were in each of those eras, but kind of showing from themselves. And I just enjoyed the current Harley run, and Zatanna's bringing down the house. I've only read the first 2 issues, and they're on, I think, 4 or 5 now, but
they're
pretty good so
there.
far.
Okay.
I'm excited to see her character kind of spring out a bit more. I think she's supposed to do a bit more in Absolute Power, although I have not kept up with any of that so far. So
there's a lot there for that.
Yeah, they jumped into many of things, and I was like, I can't do that. So I'll probably get some trades for that. Something that I've been really stoked about was the last iteration of the Long Halloween story. Issue 1 came out, I think, last week. And they've used, some of Tim Sale's art. And so far, this was a much better first issue than Dazzler 1. It had, pieces of a story coming together, which I enjoyed. I'm excited to kind of see what they do with the last piece of this.
I want to read that storyline, but like I was telling my store this past week, I said, I don't know where to start. This thing's like 20 some years old, and they told me there is an Omni for it. So I'm trying to find the Omni that collects not just that story, but all the little spin-offs and one-shots, because it's one of those to find it. Like I did this with the Hush storyline. I wanted to read it, but I didn't want to spend that time tracking them down. So my wife for Christmas got me that big chunky Omni of it. So it's like, I got it all right here. I'm set. I don't have to hunt down and spend too much money on these books. And yeah,
especially like the Hush, the individual issues alone. I did notice that was one of the compact series that DC just published, so I'm pretty excited to pick up a couple of those and kind of take a dive into some stories that I think they're like $10 maybe. maybe even cheaper. So pretty excited about that. The run that was one of the first that I really got into coming into comics was Poison Ivy's current run. This is actually her first title series ever. And it started in 2022. And it was supposed to be 6 issues, then expanded to 12, and now is ongoing. And it's at least the first, I would say, chunk of that run, the first 12 issues of story has been fantastic. They're kind of...
There we go.
Yes, so much good art. Is that Frizen?
Yes.
Yep. So there's been a lot of cool art. I say the A covers, Jessica Fong has done all of them. They've been gorgeous.
Yeah.
But I'm a Jenny Frizen fan, so I've collected all of those as well. But this is one where you really see the character take on that eco-terrorist sort of mission, and what, you know, do you save humanity or do you stop humanity? Has really been like this question that has been brought
fine
up.
Line of her being villain or hero.
Yeah, she started out with, well, to save the planet, I could murder everyone. And that would do it. But then, you know, she was like, well, there's a few that I like, you know, so what do I do with that? And I've enjoyed, they've been bringing Harley in a bit more, and I think they're going to expand a bit more into Gotham. In terms of story, I was most excited about and have finally gotten the last issue was the Gotham City Siren issues that have come out. All the character stories were put on pause. Some great more Dodson art, who also I don't know if he did any of the art in
I think he just did the covers.
The original run, just the Harley volume 1, but it's not a very meaty story. It's definitely one where these characters are just sort of in their shenanigans, working together. But I'm hoping this brings more to those three and maybe has them come together, especially after the first volume was kind of cut short with the... Was that the New 52 reboot?
Yeah, I think it was.
And they just said, all right, here's where it ends, and then redid the characters right when they were getting to some juicy stuff. So I was pretty sad, at least as a big reader on that. And these were just fun. They you know, nothing.
They were. I really liked the sidekick villains that Punchline had in that. They made me. They were very entertaining and funny. A bunch of cowboys with the name of their group tattooed all over them. I like, oh my God, these are ridiculous.
Yep, and I think it was just a good little contained storyline. And I'm, despite being into a lot of the DC women characters, haven't really gotten into a lot of Punchline. So that was fun to kind of see how her character, who now is more tied to Joker, and like that older Harley, kind of plays into these characters that have been around a little bit longer. So that was probably my favorite sort of more recent storyline, especially having read Dazzler 1. And then I guess a quest for my last sort of issue to show. I love Archie, have read it since the beginning. It was kind of a story that my grandmother read as well, so it was kind of fun to bond over that. I've just been picking a lot more of the Golden Age and Silver Age recently. And I happened to stumble upon Archie's Pals and Gals issue 1 in my LCS. A newer one that I've been kind of scoping out, and I found this and got a really nice deal on it, and it's still in pretty good condition, and I just love the art and the innuendos of these earlier runs. So it was an absolute delight to kind of stumble into this one.
There's a lot of innuendos in that old original stuff that people just go nuts for.
Oh yeah.
I got to beat it issue very recently. That was another great find.
Congratulations.
So they've just been a delight.
I love that you're into that, because those old Archies do have, I mean, I have a few, but they do have a charm to them that I just don't think is really appreciated by people your age, for sure.
Yeah, definitely not. Definitely. I'm probably one of the few people really looking for that, but it just, I read those digests as a kid.
I did too. Yeah.
And they're just nice to take a step in, read just a story, and you can leave it, and it is what it is. And I find that to be really refreshing when I'm not kind of diving into a huge storyline.
Cool.
All right. Well, good job, Kate. Good
Thank
job
you.
for your first YouTube.
Yeah.
Very good.
Let me see. We got some comments here. Okay. Doug is saying Archie is another huge universe. Yes, it's been around forever. Lots of, like he says here, crossovers, so many issues. Yeah.
Mhm.
Just what I needed.
You probably could just collect Archie and be set for a long time.
Exactly.
All right. So I am up with my mega pile. I will probably speed through some of these. And what I am going to do is I am going to start off with my new pickups. I am a Wednesday warrior. I have a huge pull list. I can't buy everything from week to week. Let's put it that way. There's a lot of stuff I leave behind. And I am getting better on variant covers. I'm a sucker for the variant cover. I have been trying to cut back, but I am going to go backwards here for this last month. And I will finish off with my favorite pick of the month. And you might be surprised, me being an X-Men guy, what that is. So last week, the 25th, was kind of a big one for me. So I'm going to run through these really quick. One of my favorite ones, and this kind of relates to my wife. She liked the first series these creators did, Stray Dogs, but I've been picking up the Feral one. Now, if you guys don't know, spoiler, it's very similar to, here, I can give you guys a hint, that kind of storyline, which I am all over. If it has vampires or zombies in it, I'm going to pick it up. I don't care what it is. I love that genre. So when they start mashing it up with other stuff, I am all over it. So, and this is the B cover. Feral has been doing alternate covers where they're kind of paying homage to like old horror posters. Like I think, was it number 1 or number 2? I think it was one of the reprints. It was Halloween. So the pumpkin looked like a cat.
Yeah.
It was awesome. And yeah, with the little paw. And so I was all over that one.
I actually am having Buzz the artist in a couple weeks come on live to sketch with me as a pre-release because he did the Feral Gremlins homage that's being released at New York Comic Con. So that's going to be really cool to see. I'm going to talk to him about it.
Yeah, I'll have to watch for that one because that's one definitely I want to pick up. Gremlins.
Me too. Yep. As soon as I saw it, love it.
I mean, I'm mad at myself. So a little bit of a side track here. Fan Expo. There's a dealer there that last year I saw this, and he was there again this year, and I was like, I'm going to buy one. He had a reproduced life-size gremlin, like a vinyl statue type of thing. I wanted I didn't care the price. It was a little pricey, but I didn't care. Last year, I ended up getting this little guy.
Nice.
Which
amazing.
Yeah. So the gremlin, and they had the one with the trench coat where he's flashing. I was like, that and the ski mask guy. I forgot to go back and get it. So mad at myself.
Next year.
Yeah, because the guy, he's there every year, I think. So it's a good chance he'll be there again. But that was a side note. Anyway, next up I got from this past week was Lobo. Lobo back in the 90s was my comic. Did you not like this one, Richard?
I don't like Lobo because he kicked a cat.
Fair.
Valid.
Fair. Now, I have not read Lobo since the 90s, so I don't know what his character is like anymore. I know he pops up with like little cameos here and there in different storylines. So I got this because I was curious to see where he is. I like the old stuff, how for it at that time, it was something new and refreshing. So that's why I picked that up. Kate, you're going to like this one. Hello, Darkness. It's a Jenny Friesen cover. It's so eerie looking.
That is. I think that's my
stuff.
favorite anthology right now, and I'm only getting the A covers. I'm not a variant cover guy, but man, whoever's painting that and the Lovecraft homages
I missed out on
great.
number 2. They sell out so fast at my store, but here, Kate, you'll like this one. I'll show it real quick.
I do. Yep.
Yeah, I've been finding her stuff all over the place. I've gotten hooked on her. Okay, next up, I keep moving faster here. Red Sonja number 14. I am a fan of Conan, the Sword and Sorcery, and this Dynamite series that they're doing with Red Sonja. I love this artist. This is what's his name? Bjorn. I'm blanking on his name, but I love his color palette that he paints in. It's very green gray almost, and it just fits with this kind of dirty world. And yeah, I love this series. Here's a variant cover that I couldn't resist. Now I could have done my whole list Wolverine. I think there's a Wolverine book every week this last month, but I refrained from doing it. I think there might be one other Wolverine I'm going to show, but Werewolf by Night, the red band. I've been picking that one up. It's been interesting so far. I mean, I'm a fan of the original series. Yep, here's another one. It's not technically a Wolverine. It's Uncanny X-Men. But if it's got Wolverine on the cover, I'm going to buy it. And going along with that, here's another character that if he's on the cover, I'm going to buy it. And I like the fact that
that's a fantastic one.
He's reading Wolverine number 1.
That's hilarious.
So yeah, Nightcrawlers, he's a fan favorite, so of course I had to get that. So that was just this past week, so I got to move faster, you guys. I'm not going to get through these. 9/11. So this was the middle of the month. I've been looking forward to this one for a while. I like Ghost Rider from back in the day. The original series with Johnny Blaze was kind of one of my quests for the last year. I am down to needing 3 more, I think, for the whole run. One of them being number 1, which I can't find a raw anywhere for a decent price. But I'm still keeping up with the new stuff. So this one I was excited for. I think it's going to be reminiscent of the 90s. And, of course, Ghost Rider. I can't resist the variant covers. And, of course, the Scotty Young. He looks so cute with his little bike. And then the other one that I got last week, which is kind of cool, this is Batman, Superman, World's Finest, but it's the B cover. Now, I like this because it's paying homage to an old Batman cover, which is, let's see, I wrote it down. This is the Dave Johnson 85th anniversary of the Neil Adams Batman 251, which is a big book. It's not a very key, it's nothing key about it, but people just love that book. I think I have a reprint of that one. So when this one came out, which is very Batman 89, that's what makes it kind of cool. I mean, that's totally Jack Nicholson right there, right?
It is. I mean, that
it
looks
is,
like,
isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was.
I thought it was.
It is the Michael Keaton suit. That is the Michael Keaton Batman suit.
That's
too.
the Michael,
Right.
and that was my favorite Batman. Actually, I love Michael Keaton as Batman. All right, so I went through that one pretty good. So I'm doing okay. All right. So this is all from 9/11 of September. So this was, we got my first indie, I think I showed. This is Image. I mentioned these, Richard Geiger.
Yeah.
I love this character. And this book, actually, I like because it's a solo story of this character right here. This is the same character. It's a 2-headed dog named Barney. That's his little sidekick. So you get to follow him along on a little side adventure, which is kind of interesting. And yeah, this series has been a lot of fun. I like apocalypse movies and stories, hence the shirt I'm wearing today.
Is that one tied into that larger Image
Yes.
universe they're doing as well right
The
now?
Ghost Machine is all supposed to tie in somehow. There's little hints here and there. It's like the same world, but they haven't really mashed them up too much yet. Just little hints here and there. Next one up I got from that week was this series, DC Vampires World War V. Now, I had the original. I had to go back and reread it because I want to kind of get up on the world again. This issue right here is what kind of sold me on the storyline that they're doing. So it's a sequel to the original. But I'm going to give you guys a spoiler. If you guys aren't reading this, there's a new Green Lantern. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
The cover was a little bit of a hint. But yeah, also Vampire Wonder Woman, terrifying.
Yeah.
I'd just be like, yeah, I'm done.
No, thank you.
All right. So, and then next up, oh my goodness. I don't know if I'm going to say what the artists are. These, you guys can look them up because there's a lot. My number one character that I like is the Bubs. Wolverine #1. Out of all the Ashes books, this was the one that I was most excited for. And what this book feels like is the old Wolverine series from the 90s. It's just an adventure. Wolverine versus bad guys, being grumbly. Nightcrawler is in this, though, which is interesting. Nightcrawler has always been a good balance for Logan, so I like that he's in this book. So I'm excited for this. It's kind of reminiscent of Wolverine #1 from way back in the 80s. But, of course, I couldn't stop there with Wolverine, so I got that cover.
Yeah.
Very sweet cover.
Nice.
Such a good one.
I got the fun one, Saturday morning cartoon Wolverine. We got Wolverine in this is his weakness, probably the redhead.
Yep.
Wolverine battling one of his villains right there, which is very cool. Like I said, I asked the store, you didn't get any more? And I know there's a lot of covers for this. I mean, it's Wolverine. You make a lot of covers, they're going to make a lot of money. Peach Momoko cover. I love the wolves on this.
Yeah,
Very cool.
that is really
That is
cool.
amazing.
This one's a Patrick Gleason one. He's known for doing some of those Spider-Man web covers. So he did an X-ray one of Wolverine. And this was foil, so it's kind of reflective. But it's like, you can see his skeleton underneath, which is cool. And then
you had me at foil.
And then probably my favorite one is this one. It's a homage of Wolverine #1 by John Romita Jr., which I know some people don't like. I like him because he was one of those artists that introduced me to the X-Men. So I have a soft spot for him. So very cool.
His work is hit or miss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That cover is hit, though. Like, I'm not the biggest Romita fan, but I really liked that.
And I think the reason he gets a lot of work is because he's one of those artists that works fast. He gets stuff done really fast, so he's a favorite by, the editors and stuff. All right, so this is the last week, the first week of September, and I have to start with, I'm going to start with this one, I think. It's a variant cover for Exceptional X-Men. Now, #1, this was the one that was weak for me with all the new X releases. I got this variant cover because it's kind of cool. It's classic Kitty Pryde with Lockheed. I'm not a big anime fan, but I do like this. And I was actually surprised reading this. It is very centered on Kitty after the whole Krakoa age. She's back in Chicago, and she's kind of trying to figure out, where do I fit in this world? And she kind of gets caught up in the same old of younger mutants that need guidance. So it's very interesting story. Jury's still out, though, because I'm not super excited about the lineup of team members. So we'll see. I usually give titles about 3 or 4 issues, so we'll see where it goes. So far, I did like where they went with this first one, getting kind of caught up where she is, because at the end of Krakoa, she was a little unhinged, to say the least. But then I got, this was probably my big one from the first week, Ultimates. Not a huge fan of this universe. I have been getting them all. Some of them I actually thinking about dropping because they're just not fast enough pace for me. Do like the Spider-Man one they're doing. This one, I think what it was, it's one of my other favorite characters on the cover, Doom. And what I like about this issue, the interiors are done by Phil Noto, and he does this thing where it's almost 4 different stories going on each page. So you could read straight across for the top panel and get one story, go to the second one, read it all through, get a second story, and so on and so on. But all 4 panels on the page actually relate to each other too. So it's like you're getting 4 stories at once in this universe of him, like who he is, why he is, what's going on type of thing. So it's very interesting, this issue. Hopefully they can follow it up in the next issue, because like I said, haven't been a big fan of this Ultimate Universe and the Maker and stuff. It's just the characters don't really interest me all that much, but you put Doctor Doom on it, I'm gonna take notice and check it out. But those were all my new picks. So now my number one pick for new releases, I think you guys are gonna be surprised by this. What the heck? I am not a DC guy, but this is technically a reprint. The fact that I think this is so cool that they reprinted this in a golden age size. And I got to open this and show you guys. I was going to get the foil, but it just didn't look good. Look at the interior. It's
wow. Nice
print. So it's got that dark, gritty look. Let me see if I can find.
I'm so glad they finally. That was a complaint I had with some of the early facsimiles they did on the glossy paper. It just didn't look right, and they
didn't feel the same.
They've started doing that, going back to more of a, if not newsprint, that better paper. Oh, that's gorgeous.
Look at that. There's Batman.
What about the ads? Is there recent ads, or are they using like the 1940s ads?
They do have the old ads on the back page.
It's a facsimile, right?
Perfect.
Yeah. So I'm flipping through. I do not see. There's a lot of different stories in here. There's some westerns in here, of course.
Yep.
There's this Death on the Airwaves by Paul Dean. So it's original that was in the Detective Comics from back in the day. And it's got some ads down there in the corner. Money and prizes. Win a bike. So yeah, this just blew me away when I saw that, how accurately they were reprinting this. That I think that was part of the reason I didn't want to get the foil. I wanted it to look as original as I could. Here's the back cover ad.
That's awesome.
But I actually told somebody, I said, man, I want to take this cover. I want to scuff it up, dirty it up, make it look old.
Go run it over real quick.
Yeah, make it antique. So this one was my number one new release of the month. And it wasn't that much. I mean, $8 for something like this. Very cool. And I know they've reprinted this in the past years ago, but it was standard comic size. So
yeah, that's
the fact that they went to that level of reproduction was really cool.
Very nice, man.
But
I mean, you should roll it up, put it in your back pocket, go play some stickball.
That's why all my G.I. Joes and Transformers look like that, because I would just shove it in the backpack back in the day.
Right.
All right. So those were new releases.
Roll it up.
I'm going to run through these.
The CGC. And with that quality control, I'm sure it's going to be an original one.
All right. So these are my Quest finds from the last month. Some of these are very recent. Now, I mentioned this one. It's a trade that I got for my wife because I had the hardest time finding the single issues. And when I found out it was coming in a trade, I was like, I'll just wait and get it. But this, Beneath the Trees.
Those are so hard to find.
Where nobody sees. So this just came out like 2 weeks ago, I think, the trade. And what is it? It's like, where's the price on this thing? $8? I think it's like $8.
Does it happen to have like the variant covers in the back?
Yes, it does. So it's all 6 issues.
Awesome.
If you guys don't know what this is, they do feature the regular covers in there. This is basically, was it Richard Scarry's old children books?
Yeah.
But it's mashed up with Dexter.
Yes. I have a first print of every issue, including the hard to find #1. Like I got it before it hit, and oh my gosh, the alternate covers are so cool. Like, this is one I could have went down the rabbit hole of variants for sure.
Yeah, and are they doing a sequel to this? I can't remember.
I have to imagine, if nothing else, that he's going to do something, because I mean, look at the cute little animals.
They're so cute, but the premise is what the main character is a serial killer.
Mm-hmm.
But another serial killer shows up and he's like, oh, I got to track this guy down so they don't discover my secret.
Right.
So it's totally Dexter.
It's totally Dexter, but it's okay. It is its own thing, and I thought it was really well done. I loved that book.
Let me see if I can find the picture that I showed my wife to hook her on this. because she's flipping through. She's like, "Oh, this looks cute. This looks cute." And then she saw this image.
There
like,
it is.
Oh my gosh! Yes, his victim. He's putting in different paint buckets and then burying the paint buckets, and yeah. So that was one honorable mention. That's the honorable mention. The other one is a guilty pleasure of mine. I was at a resale store. They had like records and tapes and old anagram type media type thing, and they had this one up on the wall, and I was like, "What is that?" So this is Gold Key Hanna-Barbera Super TV Heroes. Let me see if I can get it to focus better. There we go. And this is from 1968. It's an early appearance of one of my favorite childhood superheroes, Space Ghost. I love Space Ghost. He was one of those early introductions of superheroes for me. Him and Blue Falcon were my early superheroes. So, I didn't even bat an eye at the price of this. It wasn't that much, but I was just like, I need that. It's one of those, I need that.
Are you reading the current run?
I am reading the current one, and
the art of that has just almost gotten me to pick it up every single week when I'm in my shop.
I've been getting some of the variant covers. There's like one that's like very retro that I've been picking up, and then one it's the same artist that did that Red Sonja, so it's very kind of gritty and realistic. And actually, the writing in the new series is it's very adult. It's not cartoony at all. I mean, it's kind of dark. They're talking about killing children and all that kind of stuff. So it's interesting so far. Check it out if you guys haven't, or wait for.
I might have to, with that recommendation. I just wasn't sure how cartoony it would be.
It is not cartoony at all. It is for adults. So, and that's what I like about it. Sometimes it's too easy to do the cartoony thing because then things resolve easily. Whereas this, it's easier to keep the story going because there's consequences to a lot of stuff. So, all right. So now onto my finds. So Nate, you're going to like these first couple.
I can't wait.
I am like you. I like picking up old DC. I go through the long boxes until something finds my fancy with these funny covers. And the first one I got here is Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen.
Oh, the Beetle one.
This is number 88, 1965. What got me, I love comics that have dialogue on it because I'll sit there and read them in voices. My wife thinks I'm nuts. But the little fact that he's bouncier than the Beatles and more electrifying than Elvis. And what got me is Jimmy Olsen saying, "Cool it, Big Daddy." The gang's waiting to see Soupy dance the Krypton crawl next. I'm like, oh my God, I need this. And then you got Perry White here saying, "Superman, there's an emergency. We need you." And he's busy doing the twist.
The super twist.
It's so ridiculous. I was like, I have to have this. I don't care the shape that it's in. I'll read it and probably enjoy it. But
yeah,
I mean, the drummer looks like Ringo. Because this came out at the time that I think the Beatles were really blowing up too. So of course they're going to be all over the media. So yeah, this was a big pick. And then to go along with that, I got the 2000 reprint of Jimmy Olsen #1, which cracks me up too because he's getting ready to go solve a caper by putting on a big mustache as his disguise. So ridiculous.
Matches his hair as well.
Yeah,
right.
And then along with that one, I got Lois Lane. It's a reprint of her first solo, but it's from Showcase. Yeah. So I had to get this. I mean, it's a typical sign of the times there. She got the apron on. Superman comes home from a long day of saving the world.
Look what your super son did to this lamp.
Yeah. I mean, there's a hole in the wall back there. It's ridiculous, this stuff.
And the actual Showcase, that is a pricey book.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that they do stuff like this for people that just want to read the story and enjoy them and check out the art. I am at that age where I'm a collector, but I don't care about condition and grade and stuff like that because most of these things are going to be probably my wife or my children's problem. So I mean, maybe a couple of them I might be buried with, but but that's another time. So this one I actually found today on my trip, flipping through, just seeing what they got, and it was only $5. Lois Lane, 83 from
Oh my
1968. I grabbed this because this is an awesome Neil Adams cover.
Yep.
Lois Lane as the Witch on Wheels. Yes, please. I love these covers of Lois Lane where she's kind of like taking charge because that's her character, right? She's one of those characters timelessly that has just stood up to the status quo of the men, you know, telling her don't tell me what to do type of thing. I love it. I love her character, and this, yeah, Superman. What did I do? what have I done? I don't know, but I want to read and find out what you did to get Lois racing on a motorcycle. Awesome Neil Adams cover. And then this one going with it. I want to know what's going on with this Gulliver Travel cover and her with that skimpy little bikini one.
That one is, I don't have that one. That one is very sought out.
Really?
Because,
okay.
yeah, because
Bondage cover.
Yeah, there's two
bondage
Loises that are
bikini.
bondage covers, but that's the big one.
And I just why is she big? Are the Justice League small? I mean, what's going on? When does this come out? 80. This is number 83. Came out in 68. So
Yeah.
she's kind of got that 60s style with the hair and stuff. So I'm curious to see what's going on with this one too. Had to get it. I don't think it was much. Yeah, it's like $3 I paid for that.
Oh my gosh, yeah,
Great find.
you got that for a steal. That's great.
So that was those ones. And then I'm going to flip through these really, really fast now, guys. So Halloween's coming up. So I've been getting a lot of horror stuff. I like to, on Instagram, when I started the channel, I started posting, you know, scary covers for the whole month of October. Well, I'm starting it right. Here's a little teaser. My favorite movie of all time, Night of the Living Dead. I love the fact that they could have done this in color, but it was an independent movie. So they did it in black and white. Made it so much better. So it's got a comic in it. I'm gonna get it. Been hunting for this one for a while from 87 and Humanoids. Kind of goes with your sectors there.
That's right. Yeah.
I had the tail end of this. It's only like 4 issues. I was missing 1 and 2. I found 1 and 2 together at a local show.
Nice.
And the guy, you know, gave me a deal because I bought a bunch of them. I think he knocked off $5 from this. So not bad. This one I got from Cheddar. I'm a Bernie Wrightson fan, so when I saw this one, had to get it right there. I don't care if it has a COA or nothing.
That is awesome.
With the grading company starting to do signature recognition, I'm going to grab it. You know, I love his stuff he did. Bernie is one of those artists that he's like a classic artist, classic illustrator that he defines the subject with his line work. I love his line work. Whether, you know, by the weight of it too, you know, if it's a thick, heavy line, it's more shadowed and so forth. So yeah, I had to grab that one. This was one I didn't know existed. Another favorite movie from the 90s. It's a guilty pleasure movie. I didn't know they made comics for this movie, Subspecies.
It's a Full Moon Presents comic as well.
Yes.
Holy crap.
I didn't know this existed. So I got 1, 2, and 3. Here's the kicker. It was on the free table.
Well, it maybe should have been, but I would have grabbed it too.
I know. It's like one of my favorite companies in the 90s putting out just trashy movies. Oh, yeah.
Truly the Tubi of its day.
Yeah. This cover just terrified me, but I had to have it. I mean, look at
I love their homage covers for that one.
Look at her eyes. Oh my God, it's so haunting. And then the fact that it's like, oh, that's Wonder Woman. We're in deep shit.
Mm-hmm.
Zombie Wonder Woman. I have the trade of all these deceased, but I've been picking up the variant covers when I see them. And then my very last one, guys, I hope I didn't make this too long, was this one. I did not know this existed. It's Fanico Chronicles series. So what this is there's interviews in here. There's stories of his villains at the time. When did this come out? This came out in 82. So very cool magazine. They did this one too. If you guys are familiar with the X-Men Chronicles, yeah, there's just very cool interview magazine style book where they have just I think I featured this on Instagram. You can probably go back and find it where I posted some of the pictures from the inside articles. Very cool pickup. I think this was in just a back issue box. They didn't know what it was, so they're like $3. I was like, okay, I don't know what it's worth type of thing, but I know the X-Men one I had to pay a little bit more because, well, it's the X-Men. But yeah, I didn't know this existed. So this was probably, well, yeah, my favorite one. I was gonna say this one, but as I looked, it's got to be this one. It's Space Ghost.
It's a good choice.
But that was about as fast as I could go through my big pile, guys. Hopefully those were kind of enjoyable to see. Let me
Heck yeah.
do some switching
The
around.
back issue ones, especially that Lois Lane, was excellent pickups for the price.
Yeah, I have a couple stores that have a lot of that Golden Age stuff that they there we go. They, they're not in tip-top condition.
Right.
So they kind of price them to just move them because I think they've got them in like trading collection type of thing. Somebody came in and just say, hey, I have all this from the basement. I just want to get rid of it. So they, they're usually not in great shape. Now my normal store I go to, I have been picking through some of those old ones and like the Supergirls from Adventure Comics. I think somebody else is picking through them too because some of them are starting to disappear on me. I was like, wait a second, there was this certain. And
I feel like those have ticked up because that's the Adventure Supergirl from the 70s. I see you have the phallic cannon cover behind you. They're just getting harder and harder to find.
They absolutely are.
And I think, good Lord.
Yeah. I mean, that one and another one I've been kind of looking at is World's Finest, the originals. And my one buddy showed me an issue he grabbed. He's been going through the old Brave and the Bold, like the really old.
Yeah.
And he showed me this one of Batman in a 60s Indy car racing to save Wonder Woman that was tied up bondage style. And I'm just like, oh my God, I gotta find a copy of that. I mean, I'm not the hugest Batman fan in his world, but I like when Batman's with Superman or other Justice League characters because he gets out of that dark, gloomy Gotham, and it's more adventure based. So yeah, I saw that and I was just like, I gotta start going through those too.
It's Silver Age DC is addictive and kind for the most part way more affordable than Marvel of the same era for sure.
Absolutely. It's my favorite thing about being a DC fan is I'm like, I can get that 12 center for $3.
I am with you, girl. That is the way to go. Like when a lot of these Marvels, you see 12-cent Marvel, you're looking at $3 bills.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons. Like Richard, me and you were talking a little bit about what it is that I'm transitioning to DC, and I think it's price wise. It's not so much that I'm getting bored with Marvel. It's price wise. The Marvel that I want to go after, that's kind of interest to me right now, is pricier. But then I look at the same era of DC, I'm getting a different entertainment value because they are a little bit goofy and campy. And to me, it's that hilarious ridiculousness of that time period that I find entertaining. And like you guys said, it's cheap. It is so cheap. I started collecting Aquaman. I like Aquaman.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody likes Aquaman.
Work during his run.
Nick Cardy's covers
I didn't realize I was a Cardy
so
fan
good.
until recently, and I was like, duh.
His stuff is so cheap because nobody cared about him back then. I mean, he's got 3 big books. Number 1, Ocean Master and Black Manta. The rest of them are just, they're so affordable and attainable. I mean, I just got second appearance of Mira and the marriage of Aquaman and where he was crowned King of Atlantis at the Fan Expo. It was buy one, get one free. So one of those I got for free. And I was just like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I was like glad I quit going through the box because I'm like, oh my God. So yeah, that and Green Lantern is another one.
That was like $60, right? The buy one, get one free?
At Fan Expo, there was a booth that was doing that with a lot of their Silver Age, and like a lot of it wasn't, they were reader copies. They were probably like between 2 and maybe 6, but that's what made them more affordable. I mean, they weren't falling apart. So I don't know if did they have higher print runs, so they're a little bit more out there. I don't know. Because I know in the 70s, DC paused a lot of their titles. So those ones sometimes are harder to find. And that kind of confused me for a while. I was like, well, wait, this one stops here and then it picks up in 78?
Right.
What did they do in between? So, but yeah, if you just want some fun stories, that's a good 2 good decades to look at, 60s and 70s DC. But, well, did you guys have anything else that you wanted to show off? Well, I'll hit you guys up one last time with that.
No, I have a giant pile. We could be here all night.
Yeah, same.
All right, so I'll go ahead and wrap this up. We'll go around the horn. Let everybody know what you got coming up, shows coming up, maybe different videos, stuff like that, and where they can find you. I'll start with you, Kate. What do you got coming up? You're always busy.
I am always busy. Definitely you can find me on the Comic Underground page, hosting any day of the week virtually, and not this Wednesday, the following Wednesday I'll have Buzz the Artist with a live sketch at 7 Eastern, and showing off and releasing his new Gremlins Feral homage cover. And then you can also find me on Kate's Comics on Instagram.
Okay, very good, very good. Nate, I know you're busy like me. New videos coming out all the time.
Yeah, well, I try to do one per week, and so I've got one that'll come out at some point next week, hopefully Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. Not next week, but the week after. I'm going to be on 22 Comics on Thursday night on the 10th. Okay. I'm going to be on with Cliff, Coffee with Cliff on Saturday the 19th. I'm usually on Alan the Comic Collector Geeks Friday night hangout with him and Steppo.
Okay.
And yeah, other than that, just kind of trying to, like I said, just trying to shoot a video a week and and get something fun out there. I'm trying to do some more Let's Reads. At the very end of the month, I've not announced it like officially yet. So but I'm going to do on the 30th. There we go. I've got a couple of guests that have agreed to come on. So once a month, I'm going to do a graphic novel book club where I assign
That's awesome.
kind of like pick a book that I really just want to get into with people who also read it. Okay. So on the 30th, which is Wednesday, we're going to do Halloween theme. My favorite thing is monsters.
Ooh, okay.
If you don't know this book, I really recommend it. It's a big boy. I got this one from the library, so you get yours from the library too. But you would love this, Eric. The artwork inside is
black and white.
There's black and white and color, but there's a lot of inspiration from old horror movies.
Man.
It's the art's incredible. The story is really good. I haven't read it in a couple of years, I feel like, so I'm rereading it. But that's what I got going on. And you can just subscribe to my channel. Same on Instagram.
Okay, very cool. Richard, I know you don't have a YouTube, but we see you everywhere.
Yep. There are 2 things that I wanted to talk about is charity events that are coming up. One of them is the Mission 22 Heroes for Heroes, in which I'm a volunteer for. Bronze Age Nerd and Big B McFly, the comic book guy, are leading it. And if you don't know that Mission 22 is a organization that helps out military veterans. Every day, 22 military veterans statistically lose their battle with PTSD and other mental health issues. Okay. So there's going to be an event in November. Multiple ways that you can contribute. You can either just go to the website and you can donate money. You can donate comic books to be auctioned off. You could purchase the comic books where the proceeds go towards Mission 22. Or you could just be a volunteer and just spread the word. is putting on Instagram, encouraging people to donate money, donate comic books, purchase comic books, and just getting the word out there for this charitable event. There's going to be more information if you follow Bronze Age Nerd and Big B McFly. I think it's going to be on Veterans Day in November, or Memorial Day is going to be the auction. The second charitable thing that I'm working on is obviously our good friend Jen from Comics Will Break Your Heart. She's been battling an aggressive form of cancer, and there's a GoFundMe page for her. So we should be focusing on the finances, and she should be focusing on getting better, focusing on her health, and reading comic books.
All right, very cool. I am going to add both of those events into the links for you guys that are watching. That way you can go find them, click on the link, and go help out, see how you can get involved. And also with the show notes, I'm putting everybody's links in there. I already have a bunch of them in there, so you guys can go sub up and subscribe and like and all that stuff. So I tried to make it easy for everybody that are watching, that you like what me and my guests bring to the shows, so you can go support these, and definitely go check out those 2 events that Richard's helping out, and you guys can see what you can help out with. But all right, well, that is what we got for the show. You guys, thank you for joining me for this month, September's Sunday Show Off show, and I hope you guys had fun with our little showdown.
It was a blast.
Game.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us.
That was awesome.
Yes, awesome books. Everybody brought books. I did not serve myself like Nate, you did, but that's for another show, right?
Yeah, there's always another show, brother. There's always
we could probably
another
just get
show.
on and just stream for hours and say, look at this book, look at this book.
There are so many boxes. We should do a marathon.
Oh my God. During COVID, that happened with one of my other hobbies. I do tabletop gaming, miniature games like Warhammer and stuff like that. We would get on here on like a Saturday and just stream all day. We would just say, I got to go eat. I'll be right back. Pop off for like 20 minutes, come back. So it was like all day streaming hobby.
Yeah.
So we could do that for comics, I think, right?
Absolutely.
Hey, Doug, thanks for hanging out, man.
Yeah, thanks, Doug, for hanging out. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys are joining us late, thanks for checking it out. Make sure that you sub up not only all these wonderful guests, but me also. I appreciate that. So let me go to my banners, and we will do the ending stuff. So yeah, please smash that button, like, subscribe, comment. Not just me, but these guys. They could really use the support if you enjoyed what we were showing off today. And check us all out on Instagram. Links are down below in the show notes. And that's all we got for you guys today. Once again, thank you guys for joining us. Thank you guys out there in internet land. Join us until next month at the next Sunday Show Off. See you next time, and happy questing. And I got to find my end credits. There they are. Bye, guys. We'll talk to you later.